We all probably know about this guy. So let's just see. The most cost videos of this guy. What?
If you took 1 grain of sand,
Seriously?
flew it into space, and
Why would
launched
you
it
do
back
that?
down toward Earth at light speed, that much energy would superheat the air in front of it into plasma and disintegrate the grain long before it hits anything. But if you made the grain of sand indestructible and it impacted Earth, that blast would release more force than all of Earth's nukes combined, instantly vaporizing the ocean and shattering the crust apart, and Earth would disappear, all from a single grain of sand.
What? Sorry, about my, thing, on VTube, because for some reason, don't know what reason, it just decides no.
If you took 1 grain of sand, flew it into space, and launched it back down toward Earth.
So you're saying, if you make an indestructible piece of sand, just 1 grain, it could destroy the whole world. And it's stronger than all nukes. What do you mean?
She logged onto the library computer, which connected to the internet via a phone line, and she used it to auto-dial hundreds of other computers until one of them answered. Now, back then, if you had the password, you could access other people's files. So she typed in 0000 as a guess, but to her surprise, it connected, bringing up the FBI database. But since the password was so easy, she just thought it was a computer game. She spent 2 weeks looking through top secret information while the FBI scrambled to find the hacker. And when they finally showed up, they were shocked to find it was a child. They brought her in for questioning and discovered her mother worked for NASA. And because the girls saw the secret files, they thought her mother might have too, meaning she could have lost her job. But instead, they just banned the girl from computers for the next 8 years. She logged onto the library.
So you're saying, this girl here, she hacked the FBI. What? She damn hacked the FBI? How? How do you even hack the FBI? It's not like I'm gonna hack the FBI, but that's just crazy. So it's just the most weirdest thing I could see here.
Cut the flap in the lid of a pizza box, then cover the hole with plastic wrap, and line the whole thing with aluminum foil. Next, add a square of black paper in the bottom. Place your crackers, chocolate, and marshmallow on the paper under the plastic, and use a stick to prop up the lid. Now, if you stick it in the sun, it will reflect off the foil, bouncing down into the box, and the black paper will absorb the heat, while the plastic wrap traps it inside. And after 30 minutes, you'll have a gooey, delicious s'more. Cut the flap in the lid of a pizza box.
Amazing.
She scribbled on an egg, then pushed it right back inside the chicken. A few hours later, the hen laid the same egg again. With the words, "Christ is coming," she claimed to have powers, saying her chicken had been blessed. People came from miles away to see it, paying her coins just to watch the holy bird. Now, she wrote on every egg.
What? What happened?
They held the goldfish over. If you place a hex nut in a balloon, blow it up, and spin it around inside, as it rolls along the inflated surface, each ridge on the nut hits the latex. This makes a thumping noise, but since the hex nut is
What the? What is this? What do you mean? What do you mean?
They crept towards the house, keeping their footsteps light so they wouldn't be heard, all to steal a bucket of poop. You see, in Japan, poop was really valuable. Farmers needed it as fertilizer, helping crops grow faster. And people even traded their poop in exchange for food. Eventually, human poop became so valuable that thieves risked getting caught just to steal it. They crept towards the house, keeping their footsteps light so they wouldn't be heard, all to steal a bucket of poop. You see, in Japan, poop was really valuable. Farmers needed it as fertilizer.
Can't they literally just make their own poop? And why, for any reason, you should not sell poop. So you're saying robots are risking their lives for poop. What the hell? So I'm subscribing to Zack D. What the hell? Let me just finish something to do. So they just don't see that. Here, boy. Alright. So let's see. Something from over here. Already seen all these.
She injected bleach into the IV of one of her patients. As it entered their body, it began burning the veins from the inside. This eventually caused their organs to shut down, killing them. Now, 4 other patients had unexpectedly died in the same way. And when the hospital began to investigate, a witness claimed that she saw the nurse injecting something into the bags. When tested, the IV bags showed traces of bleach. The nurse was arrested and sentenced to life in prison. She injected bleach into the IV of one of her patients.
What? So you're saying she did what? So you're saying she just did that? She put bleach into there? What?
As it ended, they would lock themselves inside a station in the middle of Antarctica. And as the years passed, they would learn how to live completely separated from the rest of humanity. When they started having kids, they would teach them survival skills and their mission in life. These kids would then board a rocket that would take them up to a ship with an entirely artificial world inside. It would be held in a giant spinning tube that would mimic gravity. And once they had children, they would pass on what their parents taught them, continuing the cycle for 400 years as the spaceship inched deeper into space until they finally reached Proxima b, an Earth-sized planet that might be able to support life. They would lock themselves inside a station in the middle of Antarctica, and as the year...
Excuse me? So, you're saying, what? No, you're joking. What? How does Zack D Films even do that? How does Zack D Films know about this? How? Who told him this? Who told him? Who told him this? So after 400 years, we could go to a different planet.
His fingers would be slipped between the metal rings on the frame, turning the gun into brass knuckles. Now, the cylinder held 6 rounds, each with a metal pin sticking out. When the hammer came back, it smacked the pin to fire a shot. But since there wasn't a barrel, the gun only worked at close range. So, if he got too close to the enemy, he could just unfold the knife from the frame and use it for stabbing while punching with the brass knuckles. Then it all folds up neatly until he needs it again. His fingers would be... The beetle rolls its poop ball in a perfectly straight line in the dark, and you might think this is because it has night vision, but it's actually not even looking at where it's going. You see, once the ball is packed, the beetle climbs on top, spins around, and looks up. Now, its eyes are too weak to really see anything in the sky. He lowered the chunk of meat straight into a man's open stomach, and inside the acid began softening and breaking the meat apart. You see, years earlier, a fur trader had survived a gunshot wound, but the bullets left a hole in his stomach that would never close. Now, back then, people thought the stomach crushed food up like a grinder, and the surgeon realized he could use this hole to figure out how the stomach actually worked. So he dropped meat and vegetables inside, then pulled them back out to see how far they broke down. Then he drained stomach acid with a siphon and tested it in glass vials. And his experiments proved that digestion was powered by stomach acid, not by grinding food. He lowered the chunk of meat straight. He turned himself into the police, but they agreed to let him build his own prison. And when he was done, his prison included a soccer field, a sauna, and a waterfall. Inside was a jacuzzi, along with a fully stocked bar and a gym. It even had its own private nightclub. Guests would be smuggled in via supply trucks, allowing the so-called prisoner to host massive parties. But just over a year into his sentence, he escaped through a false wall, according to rumors, and he stayed hidden for another 17 months. He turned...
Couldn't he just stay in a prison? He's literally in a luxury prison. Why does it say such hot tub?
He placed the PS4 on the grocery scale, and it printed a produce sticker that he put onto the console. At the self-checkout, there was no cashier, so he scanned the barcode himself, and it rang up the PS4 as produce, meaning he only paid $10. Then he sold the console so he could afford a train ticket back to his home. And when he came back the next day to try it again, security caught him. Now, he avoided jail, but the guilty verdict stayed on his record. He pushed the needle through the banana along one of the ridges, making sure not to pierce through the other side of the skin. Then turn the needle side to side before pulling it out again. Keep going all the way down, pushing the needle in every half inch. Now, if you flip it, it looks like a normal banana, but when you peel it, the slices appear, showing the banana pre-sliced as if by magic. Push the needle through.
That looks amazing. I could honestly try that.
A thin scope slides down the baby's throat and inflates a balloon in the windpipe, sealing it shut. You see, a defect in the diaphragm lets organs crowd the lungs, stopping them from growing. But the balloon traps fluid inside, stretching the lungs bigger. And before birth, doctors remove the balloon so the baby can breathe, giving the lungs a chance to grow strong enough to survive. But the surgery could break the mother's water, causing labor to start too early. And when removing the balloon, even one tiny slip could collapse the baby's airway, meaning even a small mistake could be deadly. A thin scope slides down the baby's throat and inflates a balloon.
That's why you shouldn't do it.
If you were born on the moon and traveled back to Earth, you would immediately be pinned to the ground.
Amazing.
You see, normal humans are constantly pulled downward toward Earth, which makes their bones thicker, while their muscles grow under that pressure. But if you were born on the moon, the gravity is much weaker, meaning your bones and
He's
muscles
flying.
wouldn't be as strong. So, to fix this, scientists designed a massive glass cone that would slowly rotate on the moon's surface. As it spins, your body would get pushed outwards against the floor, and that push would feel just like Earth's gravity. So instead of floating around, you would just walk, meaning your bones and muscles would develop normally, and when you finally visited Earth, your body could handle the gravity. If you were born on...
And how would you be born on the moon? Excuse me, but how would you be born on the moon? How would you be born on the moon? By an astronaut? Yeah, I don't think so.
On the moon and traveled back to Earth, you would immediately...
Yeah, I think you would rather stay on the moon.
They fired the gun at the house, and the bullet smashed through the window, heading straight towards
Nobody
the
was
woman
hurt.
inside. But as it hit her chest, the bullet struck the metal underwire in her bra. This absorbed all of the impact and slowed it down so much that it just bounced off without even breaking her skin. Now, she was shaken but alive, all thanks to her bra. They fired the gun at the house, and the bullet... As you drank, the beer would spill out of the holes in the neck. Now, most people would cover the neck, thinking it's just a jug with holes in it. But extra spouts in the rim still spill beer in every direction, meaning you would still be covered in beer. Instead, look for the hidden hole at the back of the jug inside the handle. Cover it with your finger, then cover 2 of the spouts. This creates a closed tube, running from the bottom of the jug up to the handle and into the rim. Now, when you suck on the 3rd spout, beer is pulled through this secret tube and out the open spout, avoiding the other holes altogether. As you drank, the beer would spill out. He pulled the net out of the water, only to find it empty, and he had already gone weeks without catching anything, meaning he could barely support himself. But suddenly, a massive school of fish swam under his boat, so he tossed his net overboard and started hauling them in. Finally, it felt like his luck had turned, but as the pile grew heavier, he didn't notice how unstable his boat was getting until it suddenly tipped. The man fell into the water and drowned, ending the best day of his life in tragedy. He pulled the net out of the water.
So you're saying he did... How did he not notice? How?
When you set it to the number 5, a gear gets moved.
No.
If you try to surf on a tsunami, she crashed her truck right into a beehive, making a massive swarm of angry bees burst out and attack her. Now, a neighbor heard her screams and ran to alert her parents who lived nearby. They rushed in to pull her away, but the bees turned on them too, stinging them hundreds of times until they collapsed. They were taken to the hospital, and the mother was left severely injured, while the woman and her father passed away, all because of a single beehive. She crashed her truck.
Well, that's amazing. This is why you shouldn't drive near beehives when you're drunk, or you don't know how to drive.
Right into a bee. The baby dolphin got separated from its mother.
Couldn't you have closed all the windows?
The baby dolphin. When an astronaut poops in space, their waste could be taken and mixed with special microbes, and these would eat the solids, releasing gas as they go. The gas could then be used to feed bacteria, which would multiply quickly. And since the whole thing would be heated to almost 160 degrees, it would kill any germs left from the poop. Next, the bacteria could be collected and turned into a paste, which astronauts would eat. This would save room on the spacecraft by turning their own poop into food. When an astronaut...
Food into poop. I mean, poop into food. Poop into food. Poop into food! How? see the comments of this. Nope. No, not kind. Not kind, brother. Proof astronauts eat anything, literally anything. What's for dinner? Poop. Yeah, I'm not gonna say that. Zack never forgets to bring his poop. Infinite food glitch, lol.
He spun the wheel and it landed on a centipede, so he picked one up and ate it. And he streamed this live to thousands of followers. Every time he spun the wheel, he would eat or drink whatever it landed on, including worms and geckos. But when he ate the live centipedes, they got stuck in his throat, and he collapsed while live streaming. The whole thing was streamed on social media, meaning his followers watched him die on screen. He spun the wheel.
Was this guy mentally okay at the moment? Cause who in the right mind would eat a live centipede on a live stream?
And it place the chicken egg in a towel warmer. Wait a little over a week, then use a syringe to take tiny living cells out of the egg and place them into a clear dish. Next, feed them sports drinks, egg yolks, vitamins, and protein powder. And as long as the heat from the towel warmer stays steady, the cells slowly multiply. After a few weeks, they'll clump together, forming a soft, sausage-like piece of meat about the size of a pea. But if any kind of bacteria manages to get in, it can take over the dish and ruin the meat completely. Place the chicken.
Well, I learned nothing from that.
He was leaving a job interview when he saw the stroller rolling towards traffic. You see, a strong wind had yanked it away from the woman, who fell when she tried to grab it. But the man started sprinting and caught it just seconds before it hit traffic. Now, he had been homeless for years, but after the video went viral, the company called him to tell him he got the job. Soon, other companies began to reach out too, finally giving him the fresh start he deserved. He was...
Whoa, Zack D. Films. Tasty food. Soda Boom. Zack O Cola. Zacky Snacks. Tasty food. We're happy to let you know that we would offer you a job.
As she ate the hot dog, she didn't notice the bullet inside going down her throat. Then she bit onto something hard, and when she pulled it out, she realized it was another bullet. But the factory claimed they always did a metal scan of their food before they were sold. And when the police tore open dozens of other hot dogs, they couldn't find anything. After she pooped it out, she was left with 2 bullets and no explanation. As she ate...
Why would you pick your own poop, lady? You don't need those bullets. Flush them down the
3
toilet.
pigeons were crammed inside the bomb before it was launched. And as it flew toward the enemy ship, each of the birds was shown a screen. Now, they had previously been trained to peck at the target. So as they tapped the screens inside the bomb, sensors tracked their movement. If the ship stayed at the center of the screen, it meant the missile was on course. But if it drifted to one side, the pigeons would follow the enemy ship on the screen, setting off the sensors. This would trigger tiny levers that corrected the bomb's course until it finally hit the ship, killing the pigeons along with the enemy. But this idea was scrapped before the bombs were ever used. 3 pigeons were crammed inside. As they arrived at the Airbnb, he tried to connect to the Wi-Fi, but he noticed a network called IP camera. Now, the man was actually an IT professional, so he knew the network was suspicious. And when he managed to connect to it, what he saw shocked him. It was a video stream of his family in real time. They tracked it down to a fake smoke alarm and realized the host was recording their every move. They left immediately, staying in a hotel instead. But when they reported it, Airbnb did nothing. So they posted it on social media, and after it went viral, Airbnb finally apologized, refunding their cash and banning the creepy host.
What do you mean? They were secretly filmed.
If a crocodile eats a human, they'll actually cry real tears.
Then
But some
why would
people
you
think
eat it?
they were just pretending to be sad, and this is where we get the term crocodile tears, which means you fake your sadness. But this actually happens because a crocodile's eyes dry out when it leaves the water, and this causes them to produce tears to keep them wet while eating their prey, meaning they're actually not sad at all. If a crocodile eats a human,
That crocodile showed no mercy. No one was hurt, YouTube.
she waits outside the enemy ant nest, then kills the workers and rubs them all over her body. This transfers their scent onto her, and she's able. He would slice up the corpse and then deliver a baby, all without washing his hands. Now, the germs from the dead bodies would infect both the mother and child, killing them just days after birth. One doctor figured something was going from the corpses to the mothers, so he ordered everyone to wash their hands in between, which stopped nearly all of the deaths. But no one believed him. The constant rejection wore him down, and his mental health collapsed. His co-workers sent him to an asylum where he was beaten up by guards, but the germs from their hands got into his wounds, and he died from the very thing he tried to prevent. Decades later, his discovery was finally accepted, and today, hand washing saves millions of lives. He would
So you said he gone insane because nobody believed him. What the actual hell?
If you were lifted up by your ponytail, how
What?
much weight could you hold before it would rip your scalp off of your head? Well, each strand of your hair can hold only a few ounces before snapping, and you have around 100,000 strands on your head, meaning together your hair could hold thousands of pounds before breaking. But as you add more weight, the pull travels straight to your scalp. Your skin would stretch tight, and the blood vessels underneath would start to tear. And at around a couple 100 pounds, your scalp would begin to tear away from your skull, leaving your hair mostly intact as your scalp rips away. If you
Nobody was hurt on YouTube, but what? What? Why would you even do that?
He crashed his car, and an ambulance rushed him to the hospital. When doctors checked his phone for an emergency contact, they called 17 people, thinking they were his family. Minutes later, a woman arrived. Then another came in behind her, and another, and another. Soon, the waiting room was full. 17 women, all insisting they were his girlfriend, but they soon realized they had all been dating the same man. Some were giving him money, and one was already planning their wedding, all believing they were his only partner. Everything he had been hiding for years unraveled in a single afternoon, all because of one car crash. He crashed his car, and an ambulance rushed him to.
This guy's life.
Coco sat with her caretaker, slowly shaping her hands into signs, learning words. Then, one day, she signed something new. She wanted a cat. So they brought her a tiny gray kitten. The moment she saw him, she held him gently to her chest, cradling him like a baby. And using sign language, she named him All Ball. She brushed his fur, carried him around her room, and signed over and over, Coco Love Ball. But one morning, the kitten slipped outside and it was hit by a car. When they broke the news to the gorilla, she mourned it with loud wails. And when they asked her about the cat later, she only signed one single word: cry. Coco sat with her caretaker.
Oh, that's actually pretty sad. That's really sad.
Vinyl pellets are melted down into a puck before being placed between two metal stampers. These have tiny grooves matching the music, and when they press down, the vinyl is permanently printed on both sides. The edges are neatly trimmed, creating a perfectly round record, and when a needle moves along the grooves, it picks up the vibrations, turning them back into music through your speakers. Vinyl pellets are melted down into a puck before being placed.
That's amazing.
He pulled the grate off the vent, and his baby brother crawled straight in. He dropped 8 feet down the hole before getting stuck at the bottom. Now, their mom was in the other room and had no idea what happened until the toddler came in yelling, "Baby in." He showed her the open vent, and she realized her baby was inside. Rescuers tried to reach him, but he was in too deep, so an officer crawled under the house, pushing the baby up the shaft and back into his mother's arms. And after that, she screwed the grate shut. He pulled the grate off.
Why would you leave it unscrewed in the first place? You have like two children. What if there's a baby that doesn't even know how to walk yet? And he just crawled straight inside. Boom! Straight in the sewer.
If you crack an egg on the rim of a pan, the shell can cave inward and splinter deep inside, and once they fall into the egg white, you would have to pick out every tiny piece of shell. But if you crack it on a flat surface, the pressure spreads out evenly. The membrane stays intact underneath the shell, holding the cracks in place, and your thumbs slip into the crack and open it without pushing the shell inside. But if you just drop the egg straight down from a few inches, the force spreads across the whole shell at once, making a perfect split with almost no fragments. If you crack an egg on the rim of a pan, the shell can cave in. He climbed onto the table by the railing, and his friends pulled him back down. But when he did it again, people just filmed him as he jumped overboard. You see, he was at his graduation party when he was given the dare. But after someone threw him a lifesaver, he swam away, disappearing into the ocean. Now, the ship was in an area usually filled with aggressive sharks, and when the video of him jumping was posted online, people started to notice a dark, blurry shape near him. The crew searched for 2 days, but he was never found. He climbed onto the table.
I think we all know what happened. I think we all know what happened. I think we all know what just happened.
They placed a polygon has straight lines, connected together by sides and corners, forming an...
What's Zack D film's most popular shorts? What the? Wait, does Zack D films have any microwave videos? Microwave. Ah! What the hell is this guy? Don't know.
She found an AirTag in her purse and began to freak out. Her mind started racing about who could have slipped it in, and he smashed the AirTag, and she felt relieved for a moment. But the worry lingered. Someone had slipped it in her purse. Someone was watching. Alex
Peter.
3 friends were exploring the haunted theater, which had been abandoned for years. Locals told stories about unexplained noises and things moving by themselves, claiming the building was haunted. But it was scheduled to be torn down the next day, meaning this was their only chance to explore it. One of them joked about holding a seance. The others laughed until they reached the stage. A bowl of salt, a bird's skull, a blade, and an open book with a drawing of an old woman's twisted face. Then a faint sound came from the rafters. It almost sounded like a woman screaming in fear. Two of the friends laughed and stepped closer, but the third shook his head, saying it felt wrong. They kept urging him, promising that it was just for fun. Finally, he sighed and climbed onto the stage. They stood around the circle and joined hands. The air grew still, but they heard a soft scraping sound. It was the blade. It started to tremble. It scraped across the floor, slowly turning toward them. Then the massive curtain dropped with a heavy crash before the whole stage collapsed. The next morning, the demo crew searched the ruins. No sign of anyone inside, just a crushed skull, a sharp knife, and a book with a drawing. It was 3 terrified teens, sketched on the page. When the wrecking ball hit, the workers swore they heard screams coming from inside the walls.
Yeah, I think we know who those screams are from.
She found it.
What was this?
He slapped the old woman as they stole the family cows, while her granddaughter watched the whole thing angrily, vowing to fight against them.
What?
She learned how to use grenades and helped blow up factories and supply stations, killing German troops. And at 16, she went undercover and got a job in a German army kitchen, secretly slipping poison into their food. And when they suspected her, she even ate the same meal to prove that she was innocent. Now, she fooled the soldiers long enough to believe her, but the poison was strong and made her violently sick, and she barely survived. But German soldiers eventually caught her, and while they were questioning her, she grabbed an officer's pistol, shooting him and 2 more soldiers before the gun jammed. She was tortured, then executed at just 17, but her bravery made her a national hero. He slapped the old...
So that troop, that German troop, made that go. Basically,
If you scoop up a jar full of muddy water and shake it, it'll turn cloudy right away. But if you set it down and leave it alone, the dirt will slowly sink. And as the minutes pass, the water will become clear again. Now, when we're overwhelmed, forcing ourselves to... He fixed the small explosive to the vending machine and ran for the car. You see, he and his friends were trying to blow it open to steal the money inside, but the blast tore through the machine before he could shut the car door. A piece of steel shot out from the explosion and struck him in the head. His friends shoved him into the passenger seat and sped toward the hospital, but it was too late. And they told doctors he had just fallen downstairs, but police found the vending machine blown to pieces. His friends confessed, and they were arrested for the heist, but all of them were released later that day. He fixed the small explosive to the vending machine and ran for the car. You see, he and his friends, they would grab the rat and chop off its tail before exchanging it for cash. You see, the city was overrun with rats carrying the plague, so officials paid 1 cent per rat, requiring only the tail as proof. But even though tails were being turned in, the rats still got worse, and officials found some running around without tails. That's because people were catching the live rats, cutting off the tails, and releasing them to continue continue breeding. This was so more rats would be running around so they could keep getting paid. And some even smuggled more rats into the city, while others created rat farms, breeding them before turning in the tails. But eventually the government caught on and canceled the program. They would
Okay, that just sounds amazing. Alright, one more Zack D films.
They dug the
Something pretty
He
good.
tried to break. As the tentacle reaches the puppy, as you step, if you drop a
How
spider
about the
into
most
a beer
popular video of
glass,
Zack D
the sound.
films? How stitches work? Oh, okay.
When you get stitches, a doctor threads a needle through your wound and pulls it tight to close the skin. As the stitches hold the edges together, the wound becomes inflamed as new cells begin to repair the tissue. Afterwards, connective tissues and collagens start to create skin. Then, blood vessels form to nourish these developing tissues, filling in the area. And over a few weeks, the wound will have healed together and the stitches are removed. When you get stitches,
Alright, bye. After we see the top or print comment. I had this on my leg. Snitches get stitches. Amazing.